Welcome back, Giants fans. There's a lot to talk about. Once again, I just feel like this is a time of the year where there's so much going on, and I feel like this year is more. There's more to talk about than ever this year. I feel like the Giants have made so many trades. There's a lot of guys claiming off waivers. There's some cuts to go over. A guy went on IR, so there's a good amount to talk about here. I'll try to sum it up in a reasonable amount of time here. Hope you guys like the new hat. I got this yesterday. My parents got it for me as a surprise, so that was pretty cool. I do love my Crucial Catch hat the most. It fits my bean head perfectly, but this one's I think it's a snapback. Yeah, so this one's pretty cool. I like this hat. Shout out to my parents. Anyway, so the Ravens and Giants made a trade a couple days ago. The Giants get a guard, Ben Bredesen. I believe that's how you pronounce it. I am not familiar with him. I have to go back and look, watch more, I guess, film or tape of him if I can do that. So Bredesen I'm not too familiar with, but based on the Giants' interior offensive line depth, I would not put it out of the realm of possibility that guy can start week one. That's how, desperate the Giants are for some interior offensive line help. But the Giants traded a 4th-round pick for him in 2022. So that is, it's a decently high asset. A 4th-round pick is not nothing. The Giants did get a 5th-rounder back from Baltimore, and there was also a 7th-round pick coming back from Baltimore for 2023's draft, which is 2 years away. That's according to Jordan Ronan. So the Giants also put their speedy wide receiver. I speculated this on the 53-man roster prediction video, a video I got a lot of stuff wrong on, so my bad. But there was a lot of surprise stuff this year, honestly. But John Ross is on IR. I think he's going to miss at least the first 3 weeks. He's dealing with the hamstring injury, so it's not really a big surprise. They also cut Dante Pettis. I'll go over the cuts real quick. It's on this graphic, so you guys can see it, but if you're listening in the car or something, I'll read it. So the guys the Giants waived. Now, some of these guys are going back on the practice squad. I will read the practice squad list right after this, but they waived, some of the key names are Dante Pettis, CJ Board, Trent Harris, who had a pretty impressive preseason. I was kind of surprised by that. Corey Clement, who I had making the team, but the Giants, you can see it in the preseason game number 3. They had Gary Brightwell with the ones, and I was like, oh, that's not good for Corey Clement. So they had, they have Corey Clement not making the team. Nico Lalos, who made some plays for them in Cincinnati last year. I remember Madre Harper, their special teams guy, cornerback, and their third quarterback, Brian Lewerke. The Giants don't have a third quarterback right now. Very odd. So maybe they'll bring him back or something. I have no idea. But to have only 2 quarterbacks on the entire roster is kind of odd. So anyway, some of the guys that were cut here, I'll look at the list here. This is according to Big Blue View, to give them some credit here. So I'll read the names. I probably don't know half of these guys, but offensive lineman Kenny Wiggins, Jackson Burton, that must be a typo. Jake Burton, that's like me being stupid. Brett Heggie, and then we have 2 running backs. Sandro Platzgummer, the guy was like a doctor. I forget where he's from, honestly. But also Dexter Williams is on the practice squad. Wide receiver Matt Cole. I think Matt Cole's a defender too. He's like a wide receiver / cornerback, if I'm thinking of the right guy. David Sills, he was brought back. That's everyone's favorite Giant, David Sills. I was personally happy to see him brought back. I was hoping he'd be brought back to this team. A lot of people were upset when he was cut. Damian Willis made some nice plays in that Patriots final preseason game. Nakia, Griffin, Stewart, a guy I briefly mentioned in the Patriots game recap, he made the practice squad, not the team. Jake Hausman, hopefully I'm pronouncing that one right. He's also a tight end. Ryan Izzo's on the practice squad. The Giants just got him. We'll talk about him later. Chris Myrick, I don't know how to pronounce that guy's name, also a tight end. Defensive lineman David Moa, he had a pretty impressive preseason. Defensive lineman Willie Henry, don't know who that is. Linebacker Nico Lalos, and safety Jordan Peters. So those are like the practice squad guys for the Giants right now. I don't know if that can change or not, but that is a pretty long list. I feel like that's pretty finalized. So that's their first official practice squad. So I think things can change here. We'll find out, when the season starts September 12th, who's actually on it, but that's who it is right now. So we'll go over some of the guys they signed, brought in from waivers today. So let's start with Colin Johnson. I wrote some notes down for these guys. Doesn't have elite speed, but I do like him in the fact that he's 6'6", over 220 pounds. He puts his body on the line. Like, if you watch Mike Williams for the Chargers, he is a guy that I think he's a former first-round pick, hasn't really stayed healthy, and this is why. He puts his body on the line so much. Like, he will make these crazy catches, come down really hard, but he puts his body on the line, and you see the same stuff from Colin Johnson. So is Colin Johnson putting his body on the line good for his health? It's not, but it's also good for the team because he will make some acrobatic, very tough catches. I do like that. for him, but hopefully he stays healthy, of course. He will make some big plays. Him being 6'6" does not mean he can't make big plays. He did make some big plays down the field. He was good at high pointing the ball. Mike Glennon gave him some jump balls at some points. Gardner Minshew as well did a good job on those. Not a bad route runner for his size. He's not tremendous at it, but I feel like for a guy who's 6'6" and could be very awkward, he's actually not that bad of a route runner, so I give him some credit there. He lacks elite explosiveness. You won't see him catch a slant and break away from everybody, but his speed's not bad. He played with Mike Glennon once again, and he could be John Ross's temporary replacement. Now, if Colin Johnson comes on and makes some plays the first month of the year, then maybe it's bye-bye John Ross. But if Colin Johnson comes in and doesn't do much, I'm sure John Ross will get that spot back. But in my opinion, this could be like a John Ross fill-in type guy until John Ross is ready to come back. So for Colin Johnson, I'm pretty excited. I remember watching him before the draft, and, when you see a guy who's 6'6", you're like, oh, I want to watch that guy. And Colin Johnson was I figured he'd be like a mid-round pick. I think he was like a 5th or 6th round pick in the real draft. The Jaguars have a new regime, of course, and Colin Johnson does play some special teams. He's not known for it, but he does do it for them. He did it last year for the Jaguars, but not really known as like a special teams type of guy. So maybe that's why. The Jaguars also have some impressive receivers on that team. They signed Marvin Jones from Detroit. They have Laviska Shenault, who's a year 2 breakout, possibly for Jacksonville. DJ Chark's a talented guy at wide receiver as well. They have some guys there, so it's not like they're letting him go for no reason here. Ryan Izzo, we'll go to him next on the practice squad once again. He was traded to Houston last year, or over the offseason, I should say, for a 7th round pick. Of course, the Patriots' former, assistant GM, Nick Caserio, went to Houston. He got one of his guys back from the Patriots and Ryan Izzo, but he did not make the team. So being cut by the Texans, who are projected to be the worst team in football, right? Tied with the Lions, supposed to be the worst team in football. It's not a good look, I will say that. But, they have some guys. They still have Jordan Akins. I think they got Brevin Jordan from Miami. So they have some guys in that tight end room, but it's not like it's a stacked tight end group. So it's not the best thing to see, but Ryan Izzo is Ryan Izzo. He's not a superstar. And Ryan Izzo was kind of in a tough spot because, right when Ryan Izzo got there, Rob Gronkowski had just retired and then, came back after a year, but he just left the Patriots after 2018. And Rob Gronkowski had a Hall of Fame career for the Patriots. And then Ryan Izzo and some other guys came in and were expected to fill in for Gronk, and that obviously is not a fair comparison for a guy like Ryan Izzo, so I kind of feel bad for him in that regard. Now, I went back and looked at his blocking on PFF. He is not graded well as a run or pass blocker. Sometimes PFF is a bit off with the grades, but based on their grades, they're not really impressed with Ryan Izzo as a blocker, whether it's run blocking or pass blocking. It was between 40 and 60, so it's not very good, obviously, but hopefully we see some improvements here as he's a member for the Giants. So, some other guys that have not played in the NFL yet, they were drafted this year. Quincy Rochet, a guy from Miami, also played for Temple for 3 years, I believe, was at Temple from I have it written down somewhere, Mike. Where is it? 2017 to 2019 played for Temple, then went to Miami for 2020. Of course, Gregory Rousseau did not play for Miami in 2020, gave Quincy Rochet here some playing time. So Rochet is not a tremendous athlete, and he's a bit undersized, which may be why the NFL doesn't really, I don't want to say like him, but why he went late in the draft and why he ultimately did not make the Steelers' final cuts here. So that's probably why, if I had to guess. He's a pretty good speed rusher, but the reason he's a good speed rusher is because he's 245 pounds, and, he's definitely giving up some strength there. So he may get overpowered at times, but he does have, some speed rushing moves, which you definitely should like from a guy like that. Not a bull rusher, definitely not a bull rusher from what I've seen when I watched him. Should be a good scheme fit. I'm sure he could play outside linebacker for this team. So as a scheme fit, he should be fine. And it's funny, I remember this. In PFF's draft guide, he was compared to O'Shane Ximines, of all guys. I thought that was kind of funny, so I threw that one in there. But yeah, I don't have the highest expectations for Quincy Roach. I know some people were big fans of his, and when you look at his stats, he had the 30.5 sacks and 8.5 forced fumbles in 4 years. That's very good production, and sometimes guys that produce in college, they just end up producing in the NFL, and sometimes people and scouts don't see it, but they do it anyway. So hopefully Quincy Roach is one of those guys that just produces somehow. He may not be the most physically dominant guy, may not have the best workout metrics or combine metrics. There was no combine, but his workout metrics were not tremendous, but maybe for some reason, the guy always finds a way to produce, and maybe he'll do that in the NFL as well. Now, getting cut before your first year, not a good look, but sometimes there are diamond in the roughs type of guys, and maybe he'll be a fit here for the Giants, hopefully. Justin Hillier, that was a guy I was a fan of from Ohio State, and I was kind of hoping the Giants would take like a late round shot on him. I'm not sure if he was drafted or not. He may have went undrafted because his injury history is bad. It's a very lengthy one. I wrote it down somewhere. He tore his bicep 3 separate times, tore his meniscus, and then tore his Achilles. He spent 6 years at Ohio State. So when you're in college for 6 years, it's probably not a good thing. And he had his eligibility left over. He stayed. He's now 24 years old, I believe, so not the youngest guy, of course, for a rookie. But there are things I like about Justin Hilliard. So he's also never played over 230 snaps in a season, so that's definitely not what you want to see. Now, if you can guarantee me that he was going to stay healthy the rest of his career, I'd be a big fan of this move. I am a fan of this move, but I can't trust a guy with this type of injury history to stay healthy. That's just not, I'm a realist. I'm not going to expect a guy to stay healthy with all these injuries in college. So, I mean, I pray that he's fine and plays a bunch of games for the Giants here and is great, but based on his history, it ain't looking good. So some guys are just, happen to be injury prone. I don't want to label that for a guy, but Justin Hilliard so far has not been the epitome of health. So, he definitely has some clear explosiveness. That's one thing you'll realize, a sideline-to-sideline type guy. He's not running a 4.4, but for how big he is, he's actually pretty quick. That's something I noticed for sure. He's a big hitter. I do like that about him. Definitely a big hitter. He wraps up well, won't miss that many tackles, so that's definitely something I like. A linebacker that will make receivers think twice about going over the middle, so he will light some guys up there if he's given them the chance. And he could be like a TJ Brunson replacement, so I don't know if he's going to be like a special teams guy. I'm sure he will. I'm sure they brought him here for a reason. They didn't bring in Justin Hilliard to replace Tate Crowder and Blake Martinez and Reggie Ragland. Like they probably brought him here for a specific role. Now, if he works himself into more playing time, it wouldn't shock me because, once again, I do think that Justin Hilliard has some talent, but it's about staying on the field. Like the Giants once had a really good linebacker in John Beeson, who they traded for in the back of his career, but he never stayed healthy with the Panthers towards the end of his career, came to the Giants and I think broke his foot. So it's kind of like, some guys just happen to be injured all the time. And I'm not saying that Justin Hilliard is going to have a John Beeson type career because Beeson was a tremendous player at one point, but he could come here and hopefully make some type of impact, but his injury history is scary, I will say. But from a talent standpoint, I am a fan of Justin Hilliard, and hopefully he does find a way to, just make this team and make an impact here. So we'll find out. But what else did I want to go over? Some of the surprising cuts. Who was surprising? I mean, nothing too crazy. Of course, like the BJ Hill not playing any snaps thing was weird. We found out why, of course, he got traded. So there was that. We went over the practice squad. I mean, they got Kenny Wiggins back. They got David Sills back, which was big, of course, for most of you. Ryan Izzo's there, some NFL experience. David Moa, nice backup. I mean, they have Raymond Johnson now as like a backup defensive lineman, kind of replacing BJ Hill in that role, so they have him now. So yeah, the practice squad rules, they actually listed them out here. So practice squads can include 16 players. A new CBA allowed for 12 from the previous number of 10, but they bumped it up due to COVID. Okay, so that's good information right there. I want to see if there's like a deadline for this. 2 practice squad players can be added to the active roster each week. All right, so I don't know if there's a deadline for this. Probably not. But anyway, so yeah, that'll pretty much do it. Once again, I want to make the schedule prediction video. I'm going to do that probably tomorrow. Yeah, I think tomorrow. I did say I was going to have the video out by tomorrow. I probably lied there. It's probably going to be out by at least Saturday. Saturday the latest, I promise on that one. But I did figure that this news all happened today, except for the Ben Bredesen trade that happened, a few days ago. But I did not get on that one because I didn't have much to say, honestly. But I said Bredesen. I don't know his name now. So that's what I mean. I don't know the guy's name, so that's not good for me. That'll do it for this video. Leave in the comments, how do you feel about these, 4 moves for the Giants, the guys they brought in off waivers, some of the guys they cut, the practice squad? How do you feel about it? I think overall it's a pretty good day. I'm a fan of Hilliard's talent. I'm a fan of Colin Johnson's talent. Roche is worth taking a chance on. And Ryan Izzo is, he's fine as a tight end 4. I'll take it. So, former Patriot, which is nice. I do like bringing those guys in, of course. Play with Tom Brady for a year. So yeah, that'll do it for this video. I was satisfied today. Hopefully you guys enjoy, and I'll talk to you guys next time.